We're cutting through the fear and getting facts from one of the best people ever. She's our ABC News chief medical correspondent, Dr. Jennifer Ashton. So, you know, everybody's got a million questions, lots of fear-mongering going on out there, so we can't stop talking about it. And you've been speaking directly with the CDC. You've been to the Vaccine Development Lab. And so when you see a press conference and someone says basically everything is fine, not to worry, is that a good way to sort of put it out? What would you say to folks?
Well, I'm glad we have an hour. Listen, I think this is an incredibly interesting story. It's evolving. It changes every day. We have some of the smartest doctors, scientists, public health officials working on this, not just here in this country, but worldwide. It is anxiety-producing. In medicine and science, we like to know history on things, just like in life. We don't have a lot of history on this. And sometimes, from my perspective, medically, there's a disconnect between actions and words.
Right.
And I think that both are important, but I look at this really as a doctor and as a scientist and as a physician, which is no different, even though there are potentially millions of people affected by this. I look at it like an individual patient, and it's hard to see people who are, you know, I like to say, stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. That means doctors and scientists kind of address this. So, you know, when I see politicians and government officials and public health officials all getting into one sandbox, it can get a little messy.
Yeah.
So,
But Trump said to treat it, the coronavirus, as the flu. Is that right?
well, listen, I think our biggest concern to you at home right now, today, is influenza.
It's the flu.
It's not coronavirus. And we have to remember, it's
Well,
not
what's the
just
difference?
different family. So
Yeah.
the Goldberg family, the Ashton family, the McCain family, they're all respiratory viruses, and they're not the only ones. There's rhinovirus, adenovirus, respiratory syncytial virus.
I think I'm rhinovirus.
So they behave differently, and we know a lot about influenza virus, but you know what? Coronavirus isn't brand new. This strain is new, but it was first identified
corona
in the
is more
60s.
deadly than the flu. That's one of the differences.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to get into numbers. That is, in my opinion, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, because we don't have a good grasp right now on the numbers, okay? When we hear 80,000 cases worldwide, the 80,000 to me is less interesting than how many people have been exposed, how many people infected, how many people are tested.
There's no way to know half of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So a number in isolation, you have to take it with not a grain of salt, but a chunk of salt, because you can't interpret anything in isolation. Right now, according to the CDC, this is a highly transmissible virus with a low mortality or fatality rate, and that's really important right now.
I mean, I hate to interrupt everybody, but I read somewhere that it's like the Spanish flu back in the day, which killed 50 million people.
But
is that
things
true or
are
not
very
true?
different in 2020 than they were in 1918.
I get that. I
And
was
that,
there.
and a
believe
lot
me, I know. But I mean,
You look so good.
I know, don't I? But I mean, I read that somewhere, and it's like, really, that many people are going to die from this?
So you actually, not the Spanish flu is important with your comment, Joy. What's important is I read that somewhere. One of the biggest problems with this story is where people get information and where people get misinformation. And you have to get your information from credible, credentialed sources. If you don't, not only does it not do you any good, it can actually endanger public health in the response.
Well,